The wedding photographer's revenge. She said I was just the photographer when she fired me 3 weeks before her wedding. Little did she know I had captured something that would change everything. I am a 32 years old professional wedding photographer, and I need to tell you about the most satisfying case of karma I would be witnessed. It started 6 months ago when Madison and Drake hired me for their dream wedding, $8,000 for a full day package, engagement shoot, and wedding album. Madison was one of those brides who treated wedding planning like a military operation. Color-coded spreadsheets, vendor meeting scheduled down to the minute, and a Pinterest board with 2,847 pins titled My Perfect Day. Derek seemed like a nice guy, quite successful finance guy who just nodded along with whatever Madison wanted. During our initial consultation, she did all the talking while he checked his phone. Red flag number one, but their check cleared, so I minded my business. The engagement shoot was in October. We met at this scenic park Madison had scouted. She bought 3 outfit change and a ring light for touch-ups. Derek showed up 20 minutes late, apologizing to his phone more than 2 hours. He was handling a work crisis that apparently required constant exciting throughout our 2 hour session. I'm a professional. I will be short over 200 weddings. I can make any couple look and laugh, even when they are clearly not. But something felt off. Madison was performing happiness while Drake was mentally checked out. Still, I got the shots. Between golden hour lighting, perfect composition, all the Pinterest worthy moments she wanted. 2 weeks later, Madison called me in a panic. The engagement photos were completely wrong. She would build up this fantasy in her head that did not match reality. The photos showed exactly what I saw. I am a man trying desperately to create perfection with a man who was not really present. But you can't Photoshop genuine connection. Can you edit Derek's expression in this one? He looks bored, she said during our revision meeting. And can you make me look happier here? I look staged. I made the adjustment, client satisfaction and all that, but I kept the originals, always do. The real drama started in January. Madison had been messaging my constantly about timeline adjustment, lighting concern, and inspiration photos she would find online. Then she dropped the bomb. She wanted to add a second shooter, but reduce my rate. I found someone who will do it for $4,000 less. She said over the phone, if you want to keep the booking, you will need to match their price and bring an assistant. I explained that my rate reflected 5 years of experiences, professional equipment, and the time I would already invested in planning her wedding. She was not having it. You are just the photographer, she said. This is my day. Either we adapt or I will find someone who will. That phrase, just a photographer, like I was some random person with a camera instead of the professional documenting the most important day of her life. I stayed professional. I understand if you don't need to make budget adjustment. I'll refund you deposit and we can part ways amicably. No, she did. I want those engagement photos. You can't use them in your portfolio either. Not advertising for someone so inflexible. This is where it gets interesting. See, Madison had been posting the engagement photos on social media for months. Tagged me in every single one. My watermark was on all of them. She would been using my work to build her perfect beach image online, gathering thousands of likes and comments. But here's what she did not know. I've been photographing weddings in our city for 5 years. I knew people, including Drake's ex-girlfriend, Sarah. Sarah had hired me for her sister wedding 2 years ago. We would stay in touch professionally. She would bin Madison's engagement photos all over Instagram and reached out with some interesting information. Is that Drake Morrison? She asked when she called Madison's fiance. I can't discuss clients. I said, well, I can discuss Drake. She replied he's been texting me for months telling me how he is making the biggest mistake of his life. She sent me screenshots. Message from Drake saying he felt trapped, that Madison was more in love with the idea of a wedding than with him. He would been reaching out of Sarah because she actually understood him. I did not do anything with this information, not my business, but I kept in the mind. 3 weeks before the wedding, Madison called to fire me. She would find a photographer willing to work for half my rate. He hung me up in Commode. She called him, someone who would prioritize the client's vision. I need those engagement photos for the wedding slideshow. She said email them to me today. Actually, per our contract, I retain copyright to all image. I can provide the photos you will be already received, but not the raw files of additional edited versions. She lost it, screaming about how she would made me relevant my featuring my work on her Instagram. I was sabotaging her dream wedding over technicalities. I stayed calm. I will refund your deposit minutes. The engagement session fee is outlined in your contract. I wish you the best with your new photographer. She hung up on me. 2 days later, Sarah called again. Nedrix having second thought. She said he asked me to meet him for coffee. Says he can't go through with the wedding. That's between you and Drake, I said. But I thought you should know. She continued. He was been telling people that Madison is only meeting him for his money. That she's already planning to redecorate his house and quit her job. I thanked her for the information and ended the call, but my photographer's brain was working. Derek was about to either run away or make the biggest mistake of his life. Either way, someone was going to need documentation of what happened. I made a decision that would change everything. Update 1. Wedding was on a Saturday in March. Expensive venue, 200 guests, 5 course dinner. Madison had been posting countdown updates daily, showing off her dress, her rings, her perfect vendor team. Her new photographer was a 22-year-old kid named Taylor, who had been shooting weddings for 6 months. Nice enough guy, but he would never handle a wedding this size or a bride this demanding. And in this because Taylor had reached out to me for advice 2 weeks before the wedding. She was panicking about their timeline, the lighting in the venue, and Madison's endless list of must-have shots. She wants 847 specific photos. He said he made a spreadsheet. How is that even possible? I gave him some tips, but warned him that some clients are impossible to please. He was charging $2,000 for a $8,000 job. He was about to learn why there's a difference. The day of wedding, I was not supposed to be there, but I was. See, Drake had hired me for something else entirely. He would call me 3 days before the wedding. I need to document something. He said, "Can you meet me?" We meet at a coffee shop. Drake looked like he had not slept in weeks. Dark circles under his eyes, wrinkled shirt, hands shaking as he drank his coffee. "I'm not going through with the wedding," he said, "but I need proof of why." He pulled out his phone and showed me something that made my jaw drop. Madison had been documenting everything about their relationship, but not for sentimental reasons. She would been building a case for divorce. Screenshots of his bank accounts, photos of his assets, recordings of conversation where he would mention his family's money. She had been planning to divorce him within 2 years and take half of everything. She doesn't know I found this. Derek said it's all on her laptop. She's been sloppy about covering her tracks. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. "Because I need someone professional to document me calling off the wedding, and I need proof that she has been planning this divorce since before we even got engaged." He was willing to pay me $5,000 to be there when he ended things. To document the truth, I thought about it for exactly 30 seconds. Madison had fired me, insulted my profession, and tried to Instagram me into working for free. She would been planning to destroy Derek's life for money. "I will do it," I said. Derek's plan was simple but brutal. He would wait until the moment before the ceremony when everyone was seated and Madison was about to walk down the aisle. Then he would announce that the wedding was off and explain exactly why. "I want her to feel the same humiliation she was planning to put me through," he said, "and I want it documented so she can't spin the story later." Update 2. The wedding day arrived. I positioned myself delicately at the back of the venue with a long dance. Derek had given a detailed timeline of when everything would happen. Madison looked stunning in her $3,000 dress. Her hair and makeup were flawless. Taylor was running around frantically, trying to capture all 847 shots on her list while managing the impossible timeline she would create. The guests were seated. Madison's family was beaming with pride. Derek's family looked nervous, but that was not unusual for weddings. The officiant took his place at the altar. Derek walked down the aisle looking like he was headed to his execution. He stood at the altar, hands clasped behind his back. Joe sat with determination. The music started from Madison's entrance. Everyone stood and turned toward the back of the aisle. Madison appeared with her father, radiant and glowing, completely unaware of what was coming. She made it halfway down the aisle before Derek held up his hand. "Stop," he said loudly enough for everyone to hear. "This is not happening." The music cut off. 200 people went silent. Madison froze in place, her face transforming from joy to confusion to horror in about 3 seconds. Madison, Drake said, his voice crying across the silent menu. I can't marry someone who has been planning to divorce me before we even say our vows. He pulled out his phone and held it up. Everyone here should know that the woman you are celebrating today has been documenting my assets and planning to leave me within 2 years. She has been recording our conversation and building a case for divorce while pretending to plan our future. Madison's face went completely white. Her father caught her arm as she saw it. The guests started murmuring, then talking and louder. Then full chorus erupted. That's not true. Madison screamed. Drake, you are having a panic attack. Someone call a doctor. But Drake was just getting started. He brought printouts of everything. Her divorce planning documents, screenshots of her text to friend about playing the long game, recording of her saying she could take him for everything he is worth. I found all of this on your laptop. Drake's calmly. The laptop you left open while you were at your beheaded party. The one where you documented everything about my finances and made a timeline for leaving me. Madison tried to run toward him, but her dress was too big and she nearly tripped. Taylor, the photographer, was standing there with his camera completely frozen, not taking any pictures. Meanwhile, I was capturing everything from the back of the venue. Drake's moments of truth, Madison's complete breakdown, the guest shocked reactions, her family simulation. The wedding is off. Drake announced, dinner is paid for, so please stay and eat. But I won't be meeting someone who sees me as a paycheck. He walked out through the side door. Madison collapsed in her father's arms, sobbing and screaming about how this was all a misunderstanding, but the damage was done. Half the guests have left immediately. The other half stayed for the drama and the freeze today. Taylor means to take maybe a dozen photos of the aftermath before Madison's maid of honor told him to stop. I followed Drake outside. He was sitting on a bench looking relieved for the first time in months. How do you feel? I asked like I just saved my life. He said, did you get everything? Everything, I confirmed. What's your plan now? First, I'm going to give copies of all her divorce planning documents to my lawyer. Then my lawyer are going to take the honeymoon trip to Italy by myself. And then I'm going to find someone who actually loves me instead of my bank account. Update 3. The fallout was immediate and spectacular. This maid of honor posted the whole story on social media that night. Someone had recorded Derek's speech on their phone and it went viral on TikTok within hours. His wedding explode was trending by Sunday morning. Madison tried to control the narrative, posting a long Instagram story about Derek's mental health issues and how he had sabotaged their love story. But her friends had already started sharing their own stories about Madison's gold digging behavior. Turns out Drake was not her first wealthy target. She dated a series of successful men, always with the same pattern. Fast track to engagement, obsessive wedding planning, and detailed financial documentation. Sarah, Drake's ex, reached out to me 3 days after the wedding. Jennings called me. She said he wanted to thank me for warning him. He also wanted to know that Madison is threatening to sue you for invasion of privacy. Let her try. I said Drake hired me to document a public event. I have a contrast and witness. Madison tried to sue me. She claimed I would invaded her privacy and caused emotional distress. Her lawyer dropped the case after seeing Drake's evidence of her divorce planning. Turns out it's hard to claim emotional distress when you are the one who was planning to commit fraud. The photos I took that day became evidence in Drake's legal case. Madison had to return the engagement ring, repay the money Drake had spent on wedding planning, and sign an agreement not to contact him again. Taylor, the replacement photographer, posted a review of me online. Wish I would been as a professional as this guy. He knew exactly what he was doing. Meanwhile, Drake sent me a bonus check for $2,000. In the thank you note, you saved me from the biggest mistake of my life. The photos you took over were worth more than any wedding pictures could have been 3 months later. Drake was dating Sarah again. He would realize that his boring ex-girlfriend who actually loved him has worth more than an Instagram perfect woman who saw him as a paycheck. They got engaged on New Year's Eve. Guess who they hired as their wedding photographer? Madison. Meanwhile, had moved back in with her parents after being evicted from the apartment Drake had been paying for. She deleted all her social media accounts after the backlash and was apparently working at a retail job while trying to rebuild her life. Her sister reached out of me 6 months later. Madison asked me to apologize to you. She said she knows she treated you badly and she's trying to make amends. I appreciate that, I said, but actions have consequences. She learned that the hard way. Her sister replied, she is in therapy now and working in becoming a better person. I hope that's true, but I also hope she learned that treating people like they are disposable usually backfires spectacularly. As for my business, she has never been better. All got out that I am the photographer who tells the truth and documents what really happens. I will be booked slowly for the next 2 years with couples who actually want their real story captured, not some Pinterest fantasy. And every time someone tries to haggle my rates or tells me I'm just photographer, I think about Madison's face when Drake exposed her plan. Sometimes the best revenge is just being professional enough to capture the truth when it matters most. Drake and Sarah's wedding is next month. It's going to be small, intimate, and completely authentic. She is wearing her grandmother's dress. They are having the reception in Draking backward. And the only thing they care about is marrying each other. The difference between a real couple and a performance is obvious through the lens. And this time I'm documenting a love story that's actually true. It since everyone's asking. Yes, the viral TikTok video is still up and has over 2 million views. Recent divorce planning documents become a cautionary tales that gets shared in online forums about prenups and the gold diggers. And the courage to call off the wedding has inspired at least a dozen other people to share their own stories of escaping toxic relationship. Sometimes the best wedding photos are the ones that prevent a bad marriage from happening in the first place.